Avoiding people will not make you feel safe. Many times, if you've ever felt betrayed by somebody, then you're going to avoid people because you think, who else is going to do that to you? This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. Today, I'm going to talk to you about what happens when you get betrayed. Because when you avoid people, it's not going to make you safer than engaging with people. When you get betrayed by somebody, there is such a feeling of being hurt. There's a feeling of heartache, a feeling of disgust, a feeling of anger, and a feeling of fear all woven into one. And there's anger and resentment mixed in there as well. Then there's a sense of grief that's going on, a real feeling of disappointment as well. All of these feelings get rolled into one inside of your heart, and it makes you afraid. And then your flight or fight system engages because you don't want that to happen again because your brain is hardwired to keep you safe. So it's a perfectly natural response to protect yourself. The only thing is, well, let's call it paranoia. Just because one or two people betrayed you doesn't mean that 8 billion people on the planet are living solely to betray you, that they're out to get you, lie to you, cheat on you, or whatever the situation is that the cheating or betrayal happened. Now, when you place trust on somebody, there is often an expectation that if the person fulfills those expectations, then you become dependent upon them for that sense of certainty, a sense of comfort, certain sense of joy that comes from it, a sense of, let's just say you can rely upon them. And all of a sudden they switcheroo on you. They become a different person. They talk behind your back, you find out, or they shared information with some people, some pertinent information that you shared with them, they share with other people. Because if you only share a thing with one person who's close and people in your outer circle are then talking about you in relation to what you said to that person, then you know that person talked behind your back and they betrayed your trust. Or maybe somebody cheated on you. You're dating someone and all of a sudden he or she, you find out has been dating someone else after you're dating for 6 months, let's say. Things like that come to be a huge surprise in a really bad way, and I completely get it. I've been down that road. It's not a fun experience. And it took me a long time to really heal myself. The first love of my life, turned out to just be using me, I found out from her best friend told me. And it didn't feel good. I felt really angry. This was back when I was 19, many, many years and decades ago. And I always carried resentment for many years later, assuming all girls are going to use me or cheat on me and all this kind of stuff. And it took me a while to kind of get over that. And what I realized is, it's all about creating agreement. You see, when someone betrays your trust, it's because you didn't have agreement. If you don't have agreement, they never agreed to not share that information. You assumed they would. There's a lot of assumption in these kind of dependent type relationships. And if you don't get agreement, they never agree anything. If you're dating someone, that doesn't mean you're married to them. They can date whoever they want, and you can date whoever you want. There's a lot of assumptions assuming that if you date someone, then they're not dating anybody else. Or if you share some pertinent information, they're not going to share it with anybody else. Now, granted, there is a certain, I would say, idealization of what the word friendship means. Certainly, confidant is a part of that, but it's not always a part of that. There's certain people you can share information with, and they're not your friends, and you can trust that they will not share with anybody, such as a therapist, or a doctor or a lawyer. You know that when you go into a paid session with them, there are HIPAA laws. They're not going to share that information with anybody because they have their license and their reputation on the line. But when it comes to someone personal, like a friend or even a relative, and they go share that with everybody, it's kind of a betrayal. But did you get agreement? You see, things got to be spoken up front. And this is where, out of any feeling of victimhood, accountability is the way out of it. And it's not your fault that the person was a jerk to you. What is your responsibility is that you can initiate change in your own life. It's not up to them to initiate change. It's not up to them for you to forgive them. And there is no such thing as absolving somebody of their wrongdoing. Forgiveness is letting go of the resentment that you carry. Because a resentment is basically a poison made for another, and you drink it. It doesn't do you any good. It doesn't matter how mad, how vindictive you are. It's only going to eat you up in the end and be the cause of your misery. And I'm sure you don't wake up every morning to be miserable. Now, you may say it's not fair. That's the whole thing. No, it's not fair at all. What made you think it would be fair in the first place? Because you shared some drinks together and laughed together and did that more than once? Or knew someone for many years? Well, did you know them? You see, if you never really ask the question, then they will never tell you the answer. When you talk to somebody, a friend that is, someone you think you know, you've got to talk to them heart to heart and get them to answer you in an honest way. You can always tell if someone's lying by the tone of their voice, their eye movement, their body language, and the content of what they say. You can tell when someone's gaslighting you. They roll their eyes, they look one way, they don't look at you straight. And you can also hear an uncertainty in their voice. You can hear an overexertion, that they're really trying overly too hard to convince you. When somebody sounds like they're trying to convince you of something, you know, okay, what's up? You sound different. What's going on? You don't have to be confrontational in an angry way. You say, what's going on? What are you really saying? Or you can hold someone accountable saying, hey, look, I shared this with you. I expect you to not share this with anybody else. This is between you and me. Can you agree to that? Or you can frame it, hey, look, I need someone to talk to, but what I'm about to share is something very deeply personal to me, and I need your word that you're not going to share with anybody. Do I have your word? And if it's a person who you know talks a lot of crap, talks out of their butt, then I wouldn't even form an agreement with them in the first place, because most likely they're not going to uphold it. You've got to read a person's character. You see, it all comes down to reading social cues. You're reading their body language. You're reading their eye movement. You're reading their facial expressions. You're reading the tone of voice. Are you really hearing what they're saying? Not the content, but what's behind what they're saying. That's how you can read a person. And also the feeling you get when you're engaging them. If you get a tickly feeling in your belly, you know that this person is still trying to find themselves because they're slippery. They haven't found themselves. Often people will speak in terms of potentialities and not commitments. Hey, let's go to the beach tomorrow. Yeah, that'd be great. And then tomorrow comes and you said, well, I thought we were going to the beach, and they don't call you back. And they said, well, you just said, let's go to the beach. And, well, I was only talking about it as a possibility. I didn't say I was going to, but you said, let's go to the beach. And I said, yes. But I didn't say I'm going to the beach. There's people who evade any kind of real accountability. When you're around people, if your friend is like that or you're around people like that, don't share anything personal with them. Why would you share personal information about yourself to a person who is untrustworthy? So you got to determine whether a person is trustworthy or not. If they are, then form an agreement with them on top of that. People who carry themselves with integrity have self-respect. And when they have self-respect, they behave in a way that does not compromise their integrity or their reputation. You know, you don't do anything you can't talk to your family about at the family dinner. You know what I'm saying? If you can't talk to share this with people who are important in your life, then don't do it. It's often a way to determine, should I do something or not? You don't go drinking till 5 in the morning and brag about how you came to work hungover and you barely got the job done and you still impress people. That makes you an untrustworthy person. So if you're around someone who is like that, you don't share anything with them. You look at a person's habits, their lifestyle. Do they drink a lot? Are they working? Do they have a steady job? Are they well respected amongst the people around them and their peers? Are they helpful? Do they help their friends? You know, test a person's character to determine or not whether or not they're trustworthy. Now, there are times people who appear to be trustworthy, and everybody makes mistakes. Or somebody who is just really good, or like a smooth-talking narcissist who makes you believe they're trustworthy, tells you everything you want to hear, but you can still tell that they're telling you what you want to hear by the way they talk to you. Because you're going to feel a slipperiness, you're going to feel an overly convincing type of tone, and you're going to see an incongruency with what they say and what they do. So that's how you determine the trustworthiness of a person. And there's varying degrees of trustworthiness. Will a person do what they say they're going to do? In other words, are they reliable? Are they on time? Do they do what they say they're going to do when they're going to do it? Are they honest or not? And then, do they respect you? If they're making fun of people and talk behind a lot of people's backs, or they're chronically complaining, often something isn't right in their head, so you don't share with them personal information. You don't lend them money, so to speak. So that's the part on your part. You can blame them, be mad at the person, call them bad names behind, judge them as making them wrong, and you have every right to. They betrayed you. But you got to own your end, and this is difficult. It's not your fault that they betrayed you. What is your responsibility is you need to change the way you understand people and the choices that you make in terms of what it is you want to share or who it is you want to get involved with. That is on your shoulders. And that's how you deal with this. Hey, we all make mistakes. We all have encountered people we can deem untrustworthy. And hey, we got to move on. Why, if the more you dwell on them, why do you want that person in your life in the first place? You don't want that person in your life, so just get rid of them. Get him out of your head. Because if they're in your head, they're in your life, and it's draining you of your own energy. Don't give them any attention. They don't deserve it. Move on with your life. Worry about yourself. Cultivate your own sense of integrity and trustworthiness, reliability, and honesty. And people will pick up on it. People will read your character and say, this is a good person. I don't want to hurt them. Not everybody. But test the person's character. Then decide whether or not you want to do business with them, you want to share with them information, or do you want to make plans with them. That's how you deal with them. Forgive yourself of the poor choice you made. Because that's really what it boils down to. You made a poor choice about somebody, and you got to let that go. Don't be hard on yourself, because when you're judging them, you're actually judging yourself. Forgive yourself and learn from it. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment below. Many people whom I talk to experience some degree of disappointment in relationship to either a group of people or one person or a circumstance, and it keeps them from wanting to try to move ahead in life or work in a similar situation. With dating especially, with work relationships, or with friendships that just don't go the way you want them. That doesn't mean you can't ever have another new friend, can't have other coworkers as colleagues, or can never date again. It's all in your mind and the story you tell, and you create these assumptions and beliefs around that that keep you from really exploring life and experiencing the fulfillment and satisfaction and the love and the success you really want. I help people like this. If you have a problem with this, my contact information will be in the description. And you can contact me. You can set up a complimentary discovery session to find out what exactly is bothering you. And we can create a plan and a solution to get you where you want to be together. Thank you so much for listening. I sure hope that helps.